We are back. Our guest right now is pioneering figure in the realm of recreational leisure and immersive experiences, celebrated for her dedication to science as well as community engagement. And she's the visionary behind Science and Sip, which is a unique venue where you can delve into the marvels of science while enjoying delightful drinks in the company of friends. Here now to tell us more is the founder of Science and Sip, and we've got Cautney Wilson. And thank you for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Okay, I've been excited about talking about this right here because you're going to break this all down for me.
Yes,
How do we get here to the place where we're here? Science and Sip.
Yes, so I've always been a science nerd. I studied biochemistry in college, and I loved the research, but it was too heavily like centered on me conducting it by myself.
Right.
And I'm used to being around people. I've been a cheerleader all my life. So I was like, okay, this is not for me. I stopped school for a second, and then I started a nonprofit that did STEM programs with children at libraries. So one library after another, they started reaching out to me to do more programs. So I thought, well, if I get kids to like science, I think I can make adults like it too. But it might take a little, you know.
So how are we going to get adults liking science here?
Yeah, we get them drinking.
We get them drinking. That'll get them doing anything, right?
Yeah,
You know?
it'll get me to do it. So I was like, okay, if they're like me, they're gonna like this margarita, but they're gonna really have fun with this science explosion. So.
Okay, so we got the margarita here, right? We got that established. Now, on the other side, we've got some science. So talk to us about the blending of the two. What are people actually learning?
Yeah, so we try to blend science and entertainment. So when you come into the laboratory, you are completely immersed as a scientist. So we give you the lab coats, we give you the goggles, and then we let you know that you are accepted into Science and Sip University. So you got to complete all of these courses to make it to graduation, and we take you through a lot of different experiments so that you will learn, but it's also really fun because the more you learn, you have the opportunity to win free shots, hence the drunken part. So that's why we call it the drunken lab.
I understand. So as I learn more and I get more, I get more over here.
Yeah.
And when I get more over here, then I get more over here.
You got it.
But if I get more over here, then sometimes my retention on the science is going to be a little challenging.
And you may not graduate, but that's why you got to come back.
Oh, you got the hook, line, and sinker going. Okay, so
Exactly.
it's a fun lab.
Extremely fun.
Yeah.
Extremely fun.
What do you feel? Because on the serious side, there's so much talk about, STEM right now.
Yeah.
And we know that that's the way to go. Unfortunately, in communities of color, we're not really excelling at great numbers in the area of STEM. Is this one of the ways that we can really excel?
Definitely. When I was a research student, I was in a lot of environments where I was by myself as a person of color, and I wanted to create an environment where everyone is invited and everyone could feel free to be inquisitive, to be curious, to ask questions, because everyone has a scientist version of themselves that can seek knowledge and really have a thirst for it. And that's the environment and the culture that I'm trying to create with multiple locations of Science and Sip. So people can see like, hey, like, I'm a scientist too. I went to the drunken lab.
Right.
Like I can do this. I can learn about anything, and I can excel.
What kind of feedback do you get from people who have the experience?
We get a lot of feedback.
It might take them a couple of days to get the answer to you, though. But good, right? Okay.
Yeah. After they've awoken a couple of days later, they always say that they had an amazing experience. They met a new friend because we team you up as lab partners, whoever you sit with. So we get a lot of tourists, and this is their first time in the city, and they're experiencing New Yorkers, and they're experiencing something entirely new. So it's just really refreshing, especially coming off of COVID, to be in an environment where you're learning new things, but with new people and sitting closely to them. It's refreshing. It really is.
So for yourself, obviously, you said you've got a long history of science and research, right? And then to put this together, how long did it take you to really think, get in the lab and put the lab together, then the drunken lab, and all that? How long did it take you to piece this together?
I'm still piecing it.
Really?
Yeah, I'm constantly working on the experience. I'm working on the lighting because it is like a show. It's a theater reenaction of a scientist getting other people to become scientists as well. So we have a host, we have a script, and we're constantly adding more, taking away. But I started back in 2019, and that was when we had our first Drunken Lab experience. And then 2020 happened, COVID. We stopped for a bit, but ever since 2021, we've been We have over 15,000 scientists now and counting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what's the goal at the end of the day in terms of I've got people more connected to science,
Yeah.
a better knowledge about science, and then what?
Once the culture accepts it, I believe more people will go into that field, right? That's the focus with STEM learning. It's just exposure. And so that's our focus, to bring exposure to adults.
Right.
And saying like, hey, this is never too late to learn or love science or any field you're thinking about doing. And then it's also a pat on the back to people who are in the science field, medical field, to say what you know already is dope, and we applaud you, because they're the ones winning all the shots, because they know everything.
Right.
So,
and then on the other side, though, science being not the popular thing, people go in many different areas. Science is not that popular. Making science cool, making science, applicable.
Right.
I mean, it's huge for the community.
Oh, it's huge. And we create an environment that makes people want to come. We get that all the time. Like, I hated science in school, but now I love it. I had so much fun, because we mix the culture into science. So we're doing karaoke during the experience. We're doing, it's Music Class 101, so that's a part of one of the courses, and we have songs that everyone knows to sing along to. You know it, here's a shot. Wow, great vocals. Your acoustics is amazing, So we try to integrate the two so that it makes sense. We make science make sense.
You talked a little bit about earlier. Come in, I'm going to get me a lab coat.
Yes.
I'm going to get some goggles, and I'm going to have this experience, right? After I get the lab coat, the goggles, walk me through a little bit more about how this goes through.
Yeah, so you come in, and before you're seated, you get your first drink. So we have a specialty cocktail list depending on the season, and you pick which drink you'd like, and then we seat you with other lab partners who are there for that session time. And then you create a professor name for yourself. So that's your new identity for the night. You get to know your other lab partners, and then we go through each experience. And through each experience, you have the opportunity to win shots. And it's also another way to just engage with your friends in a different light, other than sitting down and having a meal.
So I'm going to come into the place, I'm going to be Dr. D, I'm going to do my thing, I'm going to learn my little science, and then I'm going to go ahead with a different experience about it.
Yes.
And the goal is really to have conversation about this on the outside, right?
Yeah, we have a section that's called Tipsy TED Talk during the experience. And
Tipsy TED Talk.
Yeah, you can imagine
Okay.
how that goes.
Right.
But it gets people talking about science in a fun and non-judgmental way.
That conversation is so important, I think, right? Because there's so much that's going on out there, really seriously, that there's so much that's going on out there in the area where science, technology, STEM is just, we're being passed over.
Yeah.
And for yourself, a young lady of color, to be engaged in this right now, and to know that this is the wave of the future, and to know that you're being a bridge and a connector, what's that mean for you?
Oh, it means everything. It means everything. I do career days at schools in my neighborhood in different areas of New York City, and I want them to see that. I want them to feel like, hey, I went to school, but I still found a different way for myself. It's okay to learn and continue to learn throughout the process. I know how big AI is, and it's a part of, we're integrating it into the experience as well. And I think getting more people aware of that in the culture is also a big benefit to me as well, because they're coming in and they're leaving like, I'm actually gonna do this, and I'm actually gonna do this, and nursing degree is mine, and all this, and it just makes me feel so good.
You talked about the tour. Tell people where they could actually find you located.
Yes, so we are in Brooklyn, 1111 DeKalb Ave in Brooklyn. We've been there we're gonna make our second year at this location. And yeah, and the focus is to have multiple locations in different states. So we are releasing another one pretty soon.
Yeah, you touched on that. I was going to be my next question, so you did a great job, because I was talking, you said you have tourists to come in.
Oh yeah,
and so
80%.
And so I was saying, what's the chance of tourists who actually say, listen, we want you to replicate this in our own community?
They've been harassing me.
Really?
Yeah, Atlanta's been harassing me.
Okay.
Every time somebody comes from a different state, they harass the staff, like, hey, you guys need to bring this too. So we're working on it, but we want it to be perfect. We don't want to just, come to another state and just do anything. We want it to be perfect and present it in a perfect way, so that not only they're accepting, but they know, like, this was made for me. Like,
Yeah.
I want them to feel that when they come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for coming and being with us.
Thank
And
you for having me.
congratulations on the great work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Cautney Wilson and Nelson, I'm sorry. She's definitely doing an excellent job. Want you to stay connected. Listen, as you say, get out there to the Calb in Brooklyn. Or if you want more information, go ahead and visit the website at scienceandsip.com.